Hello, hello. Look, have you ever wondered, especially nowadays, is this my time to speak or should I say something? Should I speak out? Should I say what's on my mind? Have you ever been in that position and the thing is when you start thinking that way, you're like, where is this coming from? And what is actually coming from is it's an internal conversation that you're having about your courage. And it often boils down to this: can I live with myself if I don't speak out? Have you ever been in that position where there's something you want to say, something you feel like you should say, and you don't? You just stay silent because you're second guessing whether it's your time to speak or whether this should come out of your mouth or how it will be perceived, whatever it is, right? And so you ask yourself, can I live with myself? Can I live with staying silent? Can I ignore what's in my heart? Can I ignore what my body is reacting to? Because our bodies talk to us, right? Or what I know in the silent places of my mind, can I ignore that because it's speaking to you? In fact, it sounds loud to you right now, right? And then you ask yourself, can I keep swallowing this? And it's like swallowing something that your body doesn't want to take in. It reminds me of, if you've ever seen the show Survivor. And it's not a show that I watch much, but I have seen it enough to know some things about it. And a lot of times, some of the things that they push people to do is to eat something that they wouldn't normally eat. Maybe it's a live insect, like a grasshopper, or something they've never tasted, like snake. Or even in our everyday life, it could be something like taking a pill that's too big to slide down your throat. And I know those. Those are like, usually they remind me of those supplements. A lot of times the supplements are huge and you're like, and I'm supposed to swallow this? I don't even think my esophagus is wide enough to take this in, right? And that's how this feels when there's this urge to speak out, to say something, and it's just trying to rise up. Because what happens is when we swallow something that needs that is, how do you say, abhorrent to us, or that we don't like, when we swallow something, eventually it's going to come back up. And that's what silence feels like when it's self-betrayal. And yeah, I said it because that's exactly what it is. If it's that deep, if it's speaking to you that deep, if it's that deep in your soul and in your throat, in your body, in your mind, then when you don't say something, that's a form of self betrayal. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing peaceful about that. And you know what? It doesn't make us more mature. And it's really, if you think about going back to Survivor, think about that thing you don't want in your throat going down your throat. So, in a sense, it's internal abuse because you know that you're swallowing something, that you're taking in something, that you're allowing something that just is so abhorrent to you. And what happens when you let this go? And you tell me if I'm wrong. I'd love to hear. But you start resenting yourself. You start looking in the mirror and you don't like that person you see, and you start thinking, why didn't I say something? I should have said something. It bothered me and I sat there and let it go. How many times I remember back in my military career when I first went in, and it was predominantly male. We won't say how old I am, but and the job I was in was predominantly male. And back then, a lot of things were allowed, and the guys would have girly pictures around and whatever. And I never said anything. I hated it, but I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be a part of. And so I didn't say anything. And I let it pass. I let it go. And I asked myself each time that happened, why did I let it go? Why did I swallow it? Why don't I have the guts to say anything? And that's what we asked ourselves when we're looking at ourselves in the mirror. It's like, why didn't I say something? I could have said something. I know how I felt, or why did I just let that go? Now they're gonna think it's like a dirty joke. You hear a dirty joke and you don't like it, but you laugh with everybody else. You let it go. And so you ask yourself, why did I let that pass? Why did I not say something? Why didn't I say, I don't like that? I don't like what you said about those people, or I don't I don't like when you cuss like that, or whatever it is. Why do you not say something? Why did you why did you swallow that pill again? And what happens is over time, you don't just resent what happened and that you let that go. What happens over time is you start disliking the woman that you see yourself becoming, how you've let things go, how you've squashed yourself, how you've pushed yourself aside just to fit in. And that's the weight, the real weight. And hey, I'm Michelle O'Neill, and you are on Break Time Live. And I love to take this time on Thursdays in the middle of the day. Maybe you can have lunch with me or whatever it is, and we can have these conversations. And so, one of the first things I want to ask you back to this, because I don't want to hold you long, and I know lunch is short. How do you know when silence is wisdom? Because I'm not saying every moment, every time you feel this way, that is a good thing to speak out. We have to have wisdom there. And so the question is, when is it wisdom and when is it fear? When is it fear? When are you silent? You're afraid of something about this. Speaking out, a lot of times is the questions that you ask yourself is, okay, where am I? Is this the right forum? Is this the right um, environment for me to speak at this time? Is this the right time? And who am I speaking to? One of the things is, can they hear what I'm saying? Do they Are they receptive to what I'm about to say or what I want to say? And then the question you ask yourself is, even if they may not be receptive, if I spoke to just if one person heard this out of the multitude, is that good enough for me? And then the question is, what are the consequences of me speaking out right here, right now, where I am at this time and space? What are the consequences? And I always ask myself, what are the consequences? And am I willing to deal with those consequences, right? And then what is my goal here? What is my goal for speaking right now? What is my goal for saying anything? Is it going to help anyone? Is it going to hurt anyone? Is it going to educate anyone? Is it going to lift anyone up? Whatever it is, what is your goal? Why are you saying this? And wisdom, what we do when there's wisdom in the arena, when there's wisdom there, wisdom prepares. Wisdom gets ready, does the research, look things up, make sure that they've covered every aspect of what they're getting ready to speak about, right? Wisdom anticipates what someone may say, what questions that may arise, and they prepare for those too. You can never be 100% prepared for everything, right? But you can prepare for things that you think may come up. That's wisdom, especially when you're getting ready to put something out there. What are the objections I may come up against? What are some of the pushback that I may come up against? And you know what? When we have wisdom, we also have support. And I started thinking about the word support. What is support? We're thinking people and stuff, and that's great. And we are. But what really happens with support? And I started thinking of, I've loved watching HVTV. And I love when they come to those homes and they're redoing homes and they're saying, this doesn't support this room. We have to put a support beam in or whatever it is. And so I asked myself, well, what exactly is support? It's knowing that there's something to hold you up, or someone that's there to hold you up, someone there that you can lean on, someone there that's steady, and someone there that's not gonna let you fall. So wisdom is knowing that you have the right support surrounding you. You don't walk into pressure unprepared. You don't speak off of emotions, because you know why? Especially as women, when we're emotional about something, for some reason society says, oh, she's just getting so emotional. She's so caught up in this. And they brush it aside. And you don't speak just to prove a point. It's got to be stronger than that. Sometimes I remember even myself saying that it's the principle of the thing. Yeah. Sometimes it's good to stand on principle. But sometimes you need something to support that principle, stronger than just that principle. And then we talked about fear. Fear can masquerade itself as wisdom at first glance, right? Because fear says, wait, just wait. Don't just jump in there. Hold on. Be careful. Make sure this is right, right? Stay quiet. Don't draw attention to yourself. And on the surface, doesn't it sound like what I just said? Doesn't it sound like, hey, we're being careful. We're looking at the repercussion. We're looking at whether I've done my research. I'm staying quiet because it's not the right environment, right? All this sounds good. But the difference between fear and wisdom is that fear keeps postponing even after you're prepared. Fear actually shows up when you know the facts, right? We just talked about them. You've done the research. You thought it through. You prayed it through, right? You vetted everything. You made sure You've asked your support council, everyone, you've ran it by everybody, they've given you your opinion, and you still hesitate. And that hesitation isn't because you're unclear, but because you're afraid of what it may cost. That's it. That's when silence shifts from wisdom to self betrayal, because it's all moved back to you protecting yourself. So let me ask you this: what are you actually afraid of losing if you speak? What is the cost? You're not afraid of speaking most times, but you are afraid of loss. And that loss that I'm talking about depends on the environment. It could be safety, loss of safety, of security, income. Nobody wants to lose money, right? A relationship or access or your reputation, a loss of your stability, where you stand, how you're seen. And one of the hardest one is a loss of belonging, because we are relational creatures. And these aren't small things. These are what run our lives. These are things that we built and we worked for, and we put so much time and energy and love and care into. And the thought of losing even one of those is astronomical. So when somebody says to you, just speak up, as if it's easy, right? Say what's on your mind. Just speak up. Come on now. I can't believe you didn't say anything. They're not factoring in what you might be risking. In fact, most of the time, they don't even know what it's costing you or what you may be missing. Because when you speak, you may lose that job that you fought to get, that job that you went to college and you worked so hard for. You may lose it. That marriage that you tried to hold together. You went to therapy, you did all the things. That client base that you worked years to build, they may go bye-bye. And the approval that kept the peace in your life, the image that protected you throughout life, and those things that I just named, they provide comfort. They provide stability and certainty and control. And that's human. So fear isn't weakness. Fear is attachment. Did you hear that? Attachment to what you built, attachment to what feels secure. And that's why the decision is so hard and it's so heavy, because it's not just about your voice, is it? It's about what your voice may disrupt, and that's not easy. Are you ready for the chasm that you may open? Are you ready for the sound possibly opening? if you're in a blended home. And one things I used to remind myself in my decisions is your kids won't live in the house forever. And yes, we want it to be comfortable. Yes, we want it to be loving and all those things. But jobs shift, bosses leave, administrations change, clients rotate, people come and go. And your kids will be there for a season and they're going to go. And what you have to live with is yourself. You wake up with you, you go to sleep with you, you carry your decisions for decades. None of those other things will be there forever, but you'll be there with you for the rest of your life. So the real question isn't what might I lose out there? It's, can I live with myself if I don't act in alignment with what I know is right? When I brush my teeth in the morning, can I live with who I see staring at me in the mirror? You've already lived long enough to have regrets. We all have, haven't we? And regrets compound over time. They don't dissolve. They happened. We live with them. And most of us try to move on. Fear, it fades. Circumstances, they shift. People, they move on. But self-betrayal, how we look at ourselves, that lingers. Self-betrayal changes how you look at yourself. It changes how you trust yourself. It changes how you show up next time. So you have to ask yourself, is the fear greater than the long-term cost of misalignment? Or will the weight of silence follow me longer than the backlash ever will? And most of the time, fear is temporary. But living disconnected from yourself is not. There are moments in life or when speaking, saying something, blurting things out is reckless. And we've all lived in those moments as well. And so we question ourselves, is this a moment or am I going to look like a fool, right? But there are moments where silence also is wisdom. And those are the times, right?
Someone is at the front door.
But there are also moments where staying silent cost you more than speaking ever would. And I hope you didn't hear that interruption. So I'm going to say this again. There are moments where staying silent cost you more than speaking ever could. And only you know when you're standing in one of those moments. So here's what I want to leave you with. Make a decision that you can live with, not just for today, but for 10 years from now, for a lifetime. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Is this your time to speak, or your time?
Someone is at the front door.
Someone's there to speak.
Someone is at town front door.
Let me say that again. Sorry about the interrupting. But is this your time to speak,